and welcome to this conference about becoming a platform to Fasten development of ecosystem business. This conference is part of the API as a product tracks in the Paris Apidays conference. I am Bertrand Masson. I'm running my own consulting company called Ptah Consulting. I've been working in this industry for 25 years now, and I'm doing consulting about architecture, information system transformation, cloud, data, technologies, API, and events. First of all, I'd like to thank all the person I've exchanged recently and not that recently with about all the subjects I'm going to speak today. An idea becomes an idea when it's shared with someone, and I'd like to share all the someone else that have helped me build the framework we're going to overview today. So again, thanks very much to all the people that helped me build this idea and build this speech. Let's move on to the subject and move on to ecosystem business and platform. First, a reminder of the Conway law. The structure of a software product will usually mirror the organized structure they are designing. What is this to say? It's to say that if you have a collocated hierarchical team in a monolithic organization and very hierarchical organization, you will surely end up producing software that are monolithic and have a centralized architecture. And in terms of exchanges, API, and events, they may end up, and that's something I've witnessed, in a conversation between a technical API starter developer I will discuss with the head of staff, which may be the marketing director, and he might not be Swagger fluent, and that may end up in a conversation that may not be that productive, or at least as productive as expected. So if you have a monolith and an Oracle organization, that might not be the best way to enter the ecosystem business. So let's start with defining what needs to change and what we need to do to move on to ecosystem business. Well, rapidly, what is at stake is being able to more rapidly integrate technical and business partners into your company's value proposition. And you do this because of two things. Of course, you want to increase revenues and adding some routes to your customers, or adding some routes for your products to get new markets or get new customers, and also optimize operating costs by either adding some existing products into your offers, not having to rebuild an offer from scratch, or be able to reuse your existing products in new markets. To do so, you need to do two things. That's actually what I believe and what I advise. To more rapidly integrate technical business partners, you need to do two things. You need to fasten information flows on your extended information system. That's the first thing you need to do. I'd say that's conversation between machines. And you also have to optimize interaction with and within your organization. I'd say that's conversation between human beings. So when we say this, we need to start. And to start, we need to ignite a change. How do you do this? Well, surprisingly enough, if you want to start joining an ecosystem, you need to become an ecosystem. That's the belief and that the thing I've witnessed in the recent years of work with great companies give me the chance to work with them. First thing you need to do is split your organization into several autonomous platforms so that you become and you act and you learn to act as an ecosystem. I've shown in this slide two recent examples. One is a retail, which shows to split the organization via functional capabilities. As you can see, we got operational capabilities here like sourcing, supply chain, and workshop and service production. We're talking about Mobivia, that you know in France with the brand Midas or Noroto. So it's car repair and car and service production. And so that they chose to split the organization per functional capabilities. And I'm working currently with AG2R La Mondiale, a French insurance company, who chose with our partner EY to split the organization per business line. So you see the producer at the bottom of the slide that produce the service financial service, insurance services, and on the top line, the platforms that sell this service either to end customers or to partners. And on the right, the adding, as we mentioned, the add-up of partners that add either commercial routes or products to the offer of AG2R La Mondiale. So you need to change, become an ecosystem. Choose the way you split. I'm not going to redo all the process of defining the way you split your organization to become an ecosystem and split it into platforms. What I'd say is keep in mind that other characteristics than vertical or your business line can be used to do the job, can be brands and the strategic intent to build or not build a group. You might decide to keep some brands outside as an autonomous platform in your definition. Of course, you can reproduce the same if you're a worldwide organization. You can add the geography characteristics to define your platforms, and you need to take into account the digital maturity of each of your partners. Not to be forgotten, IT size. It's a too small platform, a too big platform will not be fit for what we want to do. And IT complexity. Sometimes it makes no sense. It makes sense from a vertical point of view, from a business line point of view, to not split, but it might be make sense not to also keep things separate. Sorry about this, because of the complexity of both information systems. I take the example of Noroto and Midas. Midas has a small ERP-centric yet very effective information system. Noroto and all the brands like ATU, Auto5 has a more complex, custom, and best-of-breed information system. It was not a good idea to merge them as a platform, so we kept them separate. You need to change, become an ecosystem so that you learn how to do the ecosystem. Well, you've just ignited, so you need to do many other things. And the many other things you need to do is transform these three usual pillars of transformation, which are methods and governance, your tools and frameworks, and your organization and your operating model. I got 20 minutes. It's a very short time. I'm not going to overview all the change and all the transformation that needs to be implemented to succeed in this journey to ecosystem business and becoming a platform. But I've taken a few examples around methods, governance, tools, and organization to show you how you implement this change and the way you work to become an ecosystem, not just split your organization, but how you work as an ecosystem and how you learn your process, your organization, and how you acquire a new way of working to be successful in the ecosystem business. First example I wanted to take is, of course, data. We're in the track API as a product, data as a product, and of course, in terms of DDD, domain-driven design, data is the digital ubiquitous language that your ecosystem needs to be put in motion. You need to do, to me, three major things. First, move from SOA to resource-oriented architecture. SOA has proven right in many things, and it has brought values to many organizations, even though it's costly to maintain in the long term. But do not forget that SOA has brought many things and many good things. But we see that it's no longer a canonical one-size-fits-all data model that suits a company that wants to join an ecosystem business. Instead, I advise you to define a language with semantic structure around the chosen platform design we've seen before. You don't throw your canonical model. There's plenty of things that has worked. It's not a new business. So the semantic you had before, you keep it, but you adapt it to the new way of defining your organization. And of course, this data, this resource-oriented language becomes your natural, the language, the mandatory language in all flow, in all exchanges between your internal platforms. That's where I advise you to start by doing it on your own ecosystem, and then of course with your external platform when you'll be ready to expand and gain new partners and extend to new markets or to new products. When you do this, you're going to do two other things. you're going to learn that data is the product, and that the platform, the enterprise level with SOA disappears and is replaced by the platform level. Platform becomes responsible for maintaining data as a product and offer it to the rest of the world, as a service. I take the example here of the Apidays Mondial, which I mentioned before, where each platform is in charge with the data team and the data governance team of maintaining the whole life cycle of data products. Third thing you need to do, and I'll be finished with data, is make it available. And we use the notion of building blocks mentioned and promoted by Gartner for many years now, where all data are basically made available via API, events, and batch. And that's the basic access that any platform must provide to any other provider. It's not the whole, it does not cover the whole exchange, but it's at least the building blocks of all the interaction I mentioned before. And that's how you're gonna start fasten these information flows, because you're not going to wait for someone to ask you for an API, for an event, or for a batch. You're going to produce it before that the thinking things out, thinking the way as if you were a customer. So that when a customer asks you, do you have these data available? Yes, I do have this data with a semantic and all the doors and all the exchange tools you need to get it into your exchange flows. So what did we say from now on? We said that we need to initiate the change and become an ecosystem. And second things, we need to have data as a natural language shared by all platforms within the organization, within the newly created ecosystem, and of course, with the real ecosystem, the platform, the ecosystem you want to build to increase your revenues and optimize your costs. When you've done this, you've done data, you need to know who you're talking with. And that's very different from your monolithic organization. What I'm saying is that when you expand your ecosystem, you're going to create flows and interaction with people which are not what used to be your partners in crimes, which are your colleagues. So you're going to move from a family-only information system to an information system composed of friends, for example, of friends, which the name we use at Ptah Consulting and at Apidays Mondial, for example, to categorize software vendors. But you're also going to expand to business partners that we call partners. And we call this the framework of family, friends, and partners. And where we use these partners, because we're gonna have the organization and the platform to learn how to manage different frameworks, different tools, and different organizations. Why is that? Because, as we said, in your information system, you have your own set of tools, your own set of rules, that's called framework, that's called governance, and you have your own way of organizing your people. Well, that's what you've done. And when you've decided, for example, your ref card, I take one example of governance of framework, your API ref card, surely you haven't met people at Salesforce and say, do you mind if your ref card, your API ref card becomes the same as my API ref card? That's basically completely impossible. So knowing the difference and learning how to spot the difference between your information system, your family, and the people you're going to engage conversation with, which are friends or partners, you're going to be much more effective. And you're going to be able to do two things. With your friends, you're going to learn how to converge. That's the good old adapt framework. Adopt in terms of API, you're going to use the standard. For example, if I continue with the example of Salesforce, you're going to use the standard APIs that Salesforce is providing. You're not going to change this standard. You're not going to ask Salesforce to change for your specific company. So you're going to adopt the API and we call them the API backend. Then you're going to adapt this API, and you're going to create the semantic that we mentioned before, and the data products and the API products that we mentioned before, that the adapt part of your conversions. And then you create a team, comitology and meetings with Salesforce, so that on the long term, you know which changes are going to occur on the backend API of Salesforce, which changes may occur into your own set of rules of your family that runs your family information system, and see what are the impact of both, and restart, adapt until the end of your partnerships. Second set of friends of organization you're going to meet is business partners. These ones, you're not going to ask them to converge. You're going to deal with them. You're going to cohabit with them. You're gonna co-live with them on your information system. That's why we say that in this case, you're going to look for cohabitation. You're only going to adapt, and you're going to create a specific product that will adapt your frameworks, the one that you've created by converging family and friends, and their frameworks. You're not going to adopt their framework. That makes no sense. You're not going to adopt the framework of someone that provides you a new product or a new sales channel. You're going to create a specific product. And the only thing you're going to have to discuss, it's not the only thing, but the main thing you're going to have to discuss is who is financing these cohabitation products and to create and maintain on the long term. So, you need a change, become a platform system, focus on data, become data-driven, open your data via building blocks, and learn via this very simple framework of family, friends, and partners how to manage the relationship. If you're a friend, you converge. If you're a partner, cohabit with you. Then you need a new tool. Exchanges and flows, information flows, they follow the same trend of the market. It's called the great software unbundling. We're back to Conway. If we wanted to develop best-of-breed data building blocks, we need to transform the monolithic exchange platforms that we used to use with SOA. So what I advise you to do is add all the best-in-class solutions specialized per architecture pattern. What is to say that in terms of development of your building blocks, you need to acquire, if you haven't acquired it yet, a set of tools to build the best-in-class API. You may need an iPaaS to compose this API together. You may also need things to compose all the APIs, the resource APIs, the usage APIs that your platform has built in terms of workflow and BPM. And you need to add all these capabilities to your platform. You're going to do the same for events and stream processing, and you're going to also keep the good old ELT, ETL, and change data capture solution that you may also have acquired in the past. That will allow you to have the best-in-class developments and be able to answer any of the requirements your platform adds. You're going to add up two things to these development capabilities. Of course, all the tools you need to industrialize the lifecycle of your software, and that's very important. Otherwise, if any change creates a systemic change in your ecosystem business, you won't be that appealing, even though your products, your data products will be perfect. If managing their lifecycle is somehow a pain, it's not going to be that appealing, and you're going to lose in the long term your partners because it won't be cost effective to work with your organization. And you're going to add a third thing, which are what we call federated portals. All the tools you're going to add to your information system to make your data to market your data products, to make them available, to explain them, to show your audience and show your ecosystem what you are able to provide them in terms of data products and API products. So data, frameworks, tools. Last but not least, you need to change your organization, and you need to move on to a different way of making decisions. That's the notion of mesh, and for the time being, my strong advice is not to move on to a full autonomous mesh of platform, but to move on to a governed mesh. Let me explain this to you. Mesh is if we go back to the introduction, is great to apply to change things and be able to create non-monolithic solutions. We need to have flexible solutions. We need to have things that are much more easier and much more simpler and much more rapid to produce, to be attractive in terms of ecosystem business. Having platforms that are autonomous in terms of building information flows and create new relationship with partners is much more efficient than an hierarchical organization that needs to find the right person at the top of the hierarchy to start creating a conversation with someone like a startup that may be the next big thing of your market. So of course, mesh is a good thing, and having all your platform autonomous in terms of managing the life cycle of the enterprise API products is one of the important targets of the transformation journey I advise you to take today. But what we're saying at Ptah Consulting is that it needs to be governed. We need to share the foundation. We can't just be independent. Otherwise, you're not going to look like a single player into your ecosystem. You're going to look like what I advise you to be, an ecosystem. So you're not going to look like a mesh, but you might look like a mess. So be aware that and pay attention. Showing the foundation is giving the ability to look as if you were still one information system and one organization. And that's very important. So what is inside this governance? Well, we've seen one part, of course, the semantic of data. We respect the same semantic of data, and all platforms represent the language of the enterprise. We share the same frameworks. I've given one example, the friends, family, friends, and partners. Of course, there are many other examples of frameworks. The definition, the taxonomy of your API is another frameworks, etc., etc., etc. And we also seen a third example of foundation, the tooling of exchanges. I strongly advise to, and we've been saying that for ages, but I strongly advise platforms not to develop gray IT, but to try to make the foundation evolve. If I go back to the other slides, if one thing is missing, try not to build it onto your local platform. It makes no sense in terms of ecosystem business. You're going to look different, and partners are going to see that you're different, and they don't want you to be very different from your partners. They want you to respect the same foundation, so that for them it's easy to work with any platforms of your organization. So I strongly advise you to use and share the same foundation in terms of also tooling. That's very important. And create what we call a community of actors, community of API. At EG2 Mondial, it's called API community. Some at Mobivia was called developer community. A community of people that works on API, on events, on ETL, on all these data, API and data products, and checks regularly that we do have the right frameworks, we do have the right organization, and we have the right tools to produce the best-in-class software to expand into ecosystem business. Once you've done all this, once you've built your you've ignited the change yourself and see yourself as an ecosystem, learn how to change the methods of working, move from service to resource, move from service to data. Learn your platform how to be responsible for this data. Learn your platform how to make these data available in terms of API, events, and ETL. Once you've created this hybrid integration platform that is so important for you, and once you've learned the organization, and that's very difficult, believe me. It's not just a slide. It's not just a snap of your fingers and yes, on Monday we're a mesh. It's much more difficult. It's changing the decision process on how we build API, how we build events, how we decide on technology, how we implement a security recommendation. That changes a lot of things in terms of way of working. So be patient. Be patient with everyone. But once you've reached this platform autonomy and this centralized governance, well, you've done a great journey, and yes, you become the most attractive ecosystem on your market. That's what I wanted to share with you. Hopefully, I was not too long. I would like to thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I am Bertrand Masson. I'm reachable on this address and this phone number. If you need any help or if you have any question on these subjects, I'm more than happy to add new people in the conversation and continue developing and expanding all these passionate subjects. Thanks very much. Bye.